Millennials versus their parents. In today's podcast, you'll need to know a few definitions. Millennials, Generation Y, Generation Next, are those typically born between 1980 and 1994, and Generation Z was born 1995 to 2012. I'll throw everybody into that millennial category when I talk in today's podcast. Millennials, are you worse off than your parents? Hey, tune in. Welcome to the Rodney podcast. Okay. In high school, one of my prized possessions was this cell phone I got from a friend. He came to me and he had this thing that looked like a small camera bag, a small, slim camera bag. And he said, "Hey, I have this cell phone. Do you want to buy it?" And the first thing that came to my mind is that legit? Like, am I going to be able to go somewhere and get it connected? And sure enough, after some talking and thinking about it and really seeing if I could trust that it was legit, I bought it, and it was. And I remember going and getting it activated and looking at the terms. And at the time, Pac Bell was the company, I believe, the cell phone company, and they charged a little bit over $1 a minute. And there was a 1 minute minimum. As soon as you picked up the phone, it was $1. Now, can you imagine that? You know, in our day and age with unlimited calls and unlimited text. I mean, this thing didn't text. I mean, this thing was basically your house phone receiver headset connected to a little battery pack, if you can picture that. And so I remember just thinking that this was awesome. But conversations were really short. Hey, it's me. I'll be there in a minute. Bye. You know, with $1 per minute, you didn't have time to talk for 5-10 minutes at a time. You know, can you imagine that thing, talking to somebody for 60 minutes a day? That's $60 a day, $420 a week. Unbelievable. But again, that was the times back then. And so it brings me to the question, are millennials worse off than their parents? Welcome to the Rodney podcast.
What's up, guys? This is Travis Yance with TravisYanceFitness.com, creator of the Alpha Fitness Program, and you're listening to the Rodney O Podcast, the Alpha of podcasts.
So this is a topic that has been kind of hot, and so I kind of did this in 3 different platforms. My YouTube video, Are Millennials Worse Off Than Their Parents, is available on my YouTube channel. That's Rodney O. Go ahead and search for that, and there is a link in the podcast description. And I also have a written blog that's going to come out during the same thing. And I also going to complete the trifecta with this podcast, talking about millennials versus their parents. And so I want to look at 5 different things in detail. That's also on my YouTube video. But I wanted to talk about 5 different things that makes the differences between the generations. And so the first is the pay scale, you know, and I did a video, also a YouTube video, Is College Worth It? And also a podcast about that. You can go check that out. Back when I was working, I was making $4.25 an hour versus now, the minimum wage now by 2020 is $12. And by 2022, I believe it's going to be $15. Some places are already paying more than that. You know, some places are already paying $14 to $17 an hour. And I know inflation plays a part of it. I know that with housing prices, you know, I checked into them because I do real estate. So I understand in California what it costs to live somewhere. Even rent costs a lot. I don't know why anybody would rent personally. I would just buy a house because of the rental prices for apartments. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I understand about inflation, but I also understand that the inflation is caused because of the high wages, and that drives the prices of everything up, and so forth and so forth. I know some people disagree with that, but simple economics will claim that wrong. But anyway, the pay scale is different, and that's one of the first differences between the generations. Second is parents have spoiled millennials, right? Rides everywhere, right? They don't have to wait. They don't have to go and take a bus, wait for rides. You know, when I was growing up, get out of school, if I wanted a ride from my parents, I had to wait a couple hours before, so they get off work, and then they can take me home. Then I do homework and have my evening. But if I wanted to get home sooner than that, I better catch the bus, or I better start walking, right? But not now. And why is that anyway? I think some of it is fear. I think sometime a while ago, with people being kidnapped, kids being kidnapped, there's some fear. But I still also see kids walking to the bus stop in the morning down the street. So take that with a grain of salt. But again, this also shows up when I see kids not wanting to drive. 16 years old, I took my license test as soon as humanly possible. You're supposed to call 2 weeks in advance, right? You can't call any farther than that. So when the 2 weeks came before my birthday, I called, made an appointment. And then I made an appointment for 8 a.m. in the morning. I remember it just like it was yesterday, 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, right when they opened. So I went and took my test. I passed my test. After my test, I drove to school. And so I wanted to get my license right away. And that's not necessarily happening right now. Then number 3, I think interactions and relationships are being hindered. And also I kind of subcategorize this as some type of laziness. I think networking is very important. And another Rodney Weekly I did on my YouTube channel is Discover Business Networking Tips. And I did that with my friend Ryan Rucker. And so growing up, we played outside. We got plenty of exercise. We were riding our bikes. We're outside. As soon as we get home from school, the parents would let us. We go outside and do football, basketball, whatever it may be, ride our bikes. We were active. You know what happens now? You have these gaming consoles, PS4, Xbox. You have computers now, gaming computers. So you get home and you go onto computers and you throw on a headset and talk to your friends via the headset, right? And so that is a big difference because now you're not going outside. You're not playing outside. You're basically staying inside. And that can creep into laziness of not wanting to do anything because you're not used to doing anything. You're not used to physical activity. You get tired easy because of that. And then I think you don't know what to do when you have to go and network or meet other people face to face because everything is text and everything is playing with your friends over a headset, even people you never met before. Number 4, instant gratification and technology. With the Google age, Siri, AI, Alexa, there's a smartphone advantage nowadays. For me, growing up, if I wanted information, I'd have to ask somebody and I have to trust that they know. Or I would have to go to the library, the public library, the school library, and you have to go and you have to find where the book on your subject is, look through all these books, right? You pick one up, you kind of browse it, look at the table of contents, read some pages. If not, you get another book, look through that until you found what you're looking for. And then there's no copy and paste. So if I'm doing a paper for research purposes, I just can't copy and paste some notes, right? And then reword it in my own words. I'd have to write down and take notes or take the book home, right? And so now with this Google age, there's an advantage. Now, the disadvantage and a con is you have to know what's true or not because you fall into that trap of it's on the internet, so it must be true. Not necessarily, right? But this instant gratification and technology is a major, major player in the differences between millennials and their parents. When I had to make a phone call, I had to have the person's number either memorized or written down somewhere on my person. There was no phone with a contact list. And then I would go and find a pay phone if you're not home and drop money in it and make a phone call. But also with that became the invention of beepers. Oh my gosh, that was a big deal because if I am not at home and you need to get in touch with me, you can call the beeper and the beeper would beep and it would tell me that you called, but I would still have to go to a phone and call that number and call you. So they started having voicemail. So you can go call the beeper and leave a voicemail. But then the problem with that is I had to find the phone still. I had to call my beeper number, put in the access code, listen to the voice message, and probably still call you back anyway. So it wasn't that great of a deal, right? And then number 5, entitlement. I think at some point we just kind of went to a way of not wanting our kids to feel bad as parents, right? You want them to feel special. You want them to feel liked. You want them to feel like they're really good at everything, even though they may not be good at everything. And so it becomes this line of where, some people will say, like, you want to encourage them because you never know. That encouragement could make them from when they're a kid to work hard and then become this superstar when they get older, right? Or you may be able to give constructive criticism and Johnny can find out that, oh, maybe I'm not good at basketball and maybe I should try something else that I am good at and save them heartache from later on in life when they grow up and wonder why everybody doesn't get a trophy and why everybody doesn't say they can do anything and everybody doesn't sing their praises. So here's some final points. The final points is this. There are some better advantages, I think, to being a millennial. Now, technology age is so good and so great. My podcast series, Keys to Success, is a 28-day series that is very good. You might want to listen to that and find out some keys to success that can make you successful in today's day and age. Certain aspects of technology and today's age create a sense of depression and feeling that you're worse off. But think about that. I mean, your great-grandparents had the Great Depression. We get mad when we don't get a like or a follow on IG. So I think maybe some relevance is here when you don't get that data boy or those kudos from Instagram or Facebook, right? But this time in age that we're living in, is the greatest technological age in history. And so it can really advance yourself, right? It can really make you do better. So don't waste your time complaining. Think about ways that you can advance yourself and use the technology. Just going to list a couple things here for you. Amazon, Lyft, Uber, Instagram, Facebook. All these products of technology are there to help and advance you. And it's definitely a step up from what people like me grew up with. And so there is a huge advantage for millennials out there. Raise yourself up. You can do it. Get to know yourself. Get to know what you're good at. Get to know what you like. And go out and crush it. So please feel free to dialogue with me. My YouTube video, Rodney O Weekly, shows that I am living what I speak. It's on my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that, please. And the link is in the podcast description, or you can simply go to YouTube and search Rodney O Weekly. And remember this, I want to inspire, encourage, and motivate all of you as you navigate this journey that we call life. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.